Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Listen, whatever time of day it is or night, I pray that your mind, your heart, your body, and your spirit are poised to receive, accept, and respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. So I'm sitting here at the lab here in Decatur, Georgia, and I'm looking at a really interesting book. It was an impactful book. Has been an impactful book on my practice and my understanding of Orisha lifestyle. And the book is called Traditional Medicine in Africa: Medicinal Plants, and the use of medicinal plants in Yoruba society. This book is written by a guy named Peter Verger. He's a Frenchman. And the book is really impactful because it's a real encyclopedia of Yoruba medicine. Very, very thick with, I think, easily thousands of different kinds of remedies. But not only that, when I first started to flip through the book, this is years ago. I've had this book for quite a while now. But what I remember was flipping through the book and seeing the range of offerings, when it's called medicine, traditional medicine, I'm expecting, cure for gout, how to, remedy a toothache, stomach ache, headache, you got to burn, what do you do? But you start going through it, and some of that is there, but then you got things like medicine to get money, medicine to marry women and be loved by them, medicine for good luck, medicine to live long in the world, medicine to cure back pain, medicine for virility, medicine to cure scars on the belly, medicine that causes pimples, medicine to cure rough skin, medicine to cure gas, medicine for a neck ache, medicine for a snake bite, medicine to help a woman become pregnant, medicine to help a woman give birth, medicine to become possessed by Shango, medicine for long life, for good fortune, to make rain fall, to find stolen property, to be able to rest, to cure a woman from greed, to make someone go mad, for protection against stubbornness, for protection against enemies, and on and on and on and on and on. There are, like I said, thousands of different remedies in this book. But over the years in my practice, having met a variety of qualified priests and medicine men over the years, and used a good amount of Yoruba medicine myself, I have, continuously gone back to the question. This question keeps revisiting me. How do you actually acquire spiritual power, though? Right? How do you actually acquire spiritual power? Is it through charms and medicine? Do you acquire spiritual power through participating in initiations and rituals and ceremonies? Do you acquire spiritual power through using incantations and meditations? Do you acquire spiritual power by bathing in certain kinds of river water or ocean water, or standing in the sunlight at a certain time, or standing in the moonlight at a certain time? What is it? What's the real secret to acquiring spiritual power? Can we say beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's a formula for spiritual empowerment? Now, in order to answer that question, in order for you to really be confident in the response that you get from that question, you have to define spiritual power. Okay? Now, based on my experience working with lots of people and, working with myself, The first thing that comes to mind is that spiritual power seems to have a lot to do with the ability to get whatever you want on your own terms, right? So it looks like something like the ability to command other people or objects, make people do what you want them to do, make circumstances bend to your favor, to the way you want them to go. It looks like the ability to defy the laws of physics, right? To be able to time travel, or to be in two places at once, or be able to go into the future and come back with the information you need to be more equipped for the present. Things like clairaudience, being able to hear, and with your third ear, or clairvoyance. Excuse me, to be able to see with your third eye. There's just all these different abilities that make you greater than your circumstances, basically. That is what people tend to think of when we talk about spiritual empowerment. Now, if you happen to be one of those individuals who already has some combination of those powers, then you've experienced how they exhibit in your life, right? You know what clairvoyance actually feels like, what it looks like, what happens when you are able to command people or objects. You know what happens when you're able to, be in two places at once, and your body is physically here, but you're totally lucid in another space and time. If you have that ability, you know what it looks like. You know what it feels like, right? And so what I want to do is I want to particularly address people who know what I'm talking about, right? People who've experienced these things. Maybe you're not adept and you haven't mastered this, but you know what I'm talking about because you've experienced it, right? And what I want to do is I want to take this opportunity for us to look at what I consider 4 crucial elements to spiritual empowerment, as defined by those abilities I described above. The first element, when you reflect on the times that you have experienced this spiritual power, this supernatural ability, the first thing I want you to recall is, what was the mission? What was the desired outcome? What were you trying to accomplish in that space and time? Right? Were you going to court? Were you trying to court somebody? Were you in some kind of a work environment? Were you doing a business deal? You were playing the lotto. You were betting on horses. What were you doing? What were you trying to accomplish? Right? That's the first thing I want you to recall. The second thing I want you to recall is what actually happened. Right? What actually happened? What was the outcome? Did you win? Did everything shift in your favor? Did she say yes? Right? What happened? The third thing I want you to take into consideration is your actions or your inaction. A lot of times it's inaction. But what did you actually do? Right? When you felt the energy coming over you, did you, keep your body positioned in a certain way? You didn't move. You were overwhelmed with certain kind of a surge of energy, but you didn't say any words, right? Or you didn't open your eyes, right? What did you do, and what did you not do in that circumstance? The fourth element is who you were working with. Like, who were your collaborators? And this could be that perhaps you were, teaming up with another person. I used to know a couple of women in Oakland who I worked with for a while, and they were team dreamers, I guess you could say. They would go on these spiritual missions together in their dreams, right? They would set up their space, and they would dream deliberately on purpose to do things, find things. Very fascinating couple of women. And there are other right? Other ways that you could be collaborating with a priest or a priestess. You could be collaborating with a spirit, with a deity, with an ancestor, right? Whatever the case may be, what I want you to recall is at the time or the times that you have experienced this spiritual empowerment, who are you working with, right? Who are you working with? And even if it isn't a situation where you can say, I was working with this deity, or I was, had this person I was team dreaming with. Who were the other people or the main people that you were engaging with in the work that you were doing? So maybe it was a work situation, and you were a member of a 3-person team, and y'all were collaborating in the work environment to do a certain thing, but you on your own were working on some kind of a spiritual connectivity, or you on your own experienced it. It maybe it not have seemed deliberate at the time, but inadvertently you found yourself on this other frequency. What I want you to do is I want you to take stock of the other people who were in your environment, and I want you to understand what role these folks may have played in facilitating your experience. Because when you put all of these things together, the mission or your intent, the outcomes, the activities that you did or your actions that you took, and the people who you were collaborating with, all of these things set the stage. They paint a picture. They create context for you to understand your personal pathways to spiritual empowerment. Because your pathways are going to be different from mine. The way you get in is different from the way I get in. The way I get in is different from the way the next person gets in. But the most important thing is that you understand very, very clearly how you're wired for spiritual empowerment. Because you have certain propensities. You're receptive and susceptible to certain kinds of spiritual phenomena. And all of these different elements are what you need to put together so that you can deliberately put yourself into position to experience spiritual empowerment in a way that is congruent with who you are and why you're here. Now, within the Orisha Lifestyle Academy, we have some set, standardized practices that come out of the Yoruba tradition, because these are the things that the Yoruba people has distilled over thousands and thousands of years, because they know that these things are common to everybody. If you're baking a cake, you need an oven, for example, right? So in order for you to position yourself for spiritual empowerment, one of the key elements is you got to have a calendar. You need to know where you are. You need to know how space is moving, or how you're moving in space. You need to orientate yourself, right? Calendar is crucial. You need to be able to call upon all of the different custodians of spiritual empowerment who have been passing down the wisdom for years, for generations, right? You've got to be able to call those people to your aid and sort of reveal yourself to them. Say, hey, I'm here, and I know that you are a conduit to what I want to do. So please, I'm inviting you to support me. Another element is being able to invoke certain spiritual forces who will keep your spiritual environment clean, safe, orderly. They're going to protect you. However you are going to discover your pathway, there's certain divinities that you need to have at your flank to make sure that things go relatively well, right? Then you need to be able to do some kind of a divination, right? There's a divination that is endemic to our practice. We divine. And even when we are intuiting things and we're doing things in a very sublime way, we augment our spiritual practices with divination, because it gives us a very clear and definitive response. And then another element is offerings. We recognize the importance of reciprocity, We understand that when we call upon the deities and we make these pleas, and the different forces come to our aid, we understand that there's a need for us to acknowledge them and reciprocate, nourish them, and refresh them, so that they are able to continue to help and support us, right? And then we can also, send them back to the place where they belong. And so I invite you to combine these two resources. Find out your personal pathways to spiritual empowerment and consider formalizing your practice and becoming well versed in the traditional way of setting the stage for spiritual empowerment in a way that's consistent, it's reliable, it's tested over time, and is essentially guaranteed to protect you in the journey towards spiritual empowerment. You can learn more at orishalifestyle.com or obafemio.com. In either case, I pray that all is well with you, that the message has been well received, that the message has been accepted, and that the message is ready for you to act upon. Many blessings.